And now that I've been entrusted with the job of helping to make North Carolina laws, I feel somewhat of an obligation to point out. Well, first of all, my father's here. He's up in the chamber with the video camera behind the flag here. And I hate to do this, but I feel somewhat of an obligation to point out, in case there are any law enforcement officers here, that you are aware that it's illegal to climb on state monuments. Fortunately, I think the statute of limitations has told since 1940-something. This chamber is also the place where I was first taught Robert's Rules of Order by America's longest-serving office holder, former Secretary of State Thad Ewart. And it's also the place, as a member of North Carolina Student Legislature in the 1980s, I was able to pass my first bill. We all have our own special memories here, our own past and history. But the history of this area is the same to all of us. It was George Washington, whose picture hangs behind me, who originally ordered 14 copies of the Bill of Rights, one for each of the 13 colonies, and obviously one for our new federal government. North Carolina retained that copy for 8 decades until it was stolen from this very building. And although the circumstances that surround that theft are still somewhat of a mystery, it's my job tonight to explain those circumstances. After marching through Georgia and South Carolina, 60,000 plus of Sherman's troops arrived in Raleigh on April 13, 1865, which was 4 days after General Lee surrendered to General Grant. It was also the day before Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. The news of both Lee's surrender and Lincoln's assassination obviously took time to travel. Meanwhile, Sherman's troops sat here in Raleigh. Although Sherman had burned down Atlanta and Columbia, Raleigh was spared. And one of the biggest reasons Raleigh was spared is because we were one of the last to succeed. North Carolina did not succeed until Lincoln sent the first troops to the south. And the orders from Sherman to his commanders were to deal as moderately and fairly by North Carolinians as possible. Sherman's troops camped all around Raleigh. The majority of them camped on Dix Hill, which is now the spot, obviously, of the Orthopedic Hospital. Sherman himself set his headquarters up in Governor Aycock's home, which was at the end of Fayetteville Street, where our Memorial Auditorium now stands. And the soldier who eventually made it to Raleigh with word of Lincoln's assassination was immediately confined. They put guards around him for days, and obviously did not release him until the troops left Raleigh. The orders were to keep him quiet because he didn't want the troops to burn down Raleigh, as they had, obviously, in Atlanta. As a result of the soldiers not knowing the president had been assassinated, and Sherman's orders still moderately, the Capitol building they were sitting in today still stands. But the troops did pillage, and they confiscated as the spoils of war many of North Carolina's most precious documents. And it was a soldier that was stationed in this building that actually stole our copy of the Bill of Rights. He tucked it into his satchel,